Good evening, you're watching 7 at 7 and we come to you from battleground Maharashtra, from the city of Nagpur, the nerve center of the Vidarbha region. And it might be coming out of your ears on the importance or the relevance of Vidarbha, and why not? Because 62 of the 288 assembly seats in the state of Maharashtra come right from this particular region. It's not incorrect to say, we've just come fresh out of American elections, that if there is a swing region, then it is the Vidarbha region. It could practically make or break for any political outfit or any alliance, be it the Mahayuti or the Mahavikas Aghadi, where this election comes into question. All right, our top focus comes in, viewers, from the state of Jammu and Kashmir. If thought that things went down very tamely with Omar Abdullah taking oath, well, once the assembly got into session, fireworks, this time around over the demand for restoration of Article 370. Well, how it all planned out, just take a look. Prime Minister Modi responded by criticizing the India bloc, asserting that Article 370 is history, emphasizing that no one can touch Kashmir as long as he is in power, and accusing Congress of harboring separatist and pro-Pakistan ideology. Now, this statement comes after Chief Minister Omar Abdullah stated that they have been cheated by the government. He reaffirmed his commitment to restoring Article 370 and 35A as promised during the election campaigns. Just like yesterday, a brawl broke out in the assembly as opposition leaders protested against Omar's statement. Marshals had to intervene and then escort the opposition members, largely from the Bharatiya Janata Party, out.
आजादी के 75 साल बाद जम्मू कश्मीर में बाबा साहब का संविधान लागू हुआ है, लेकिन ये कांग्रेस और उसके साथियों को ये बर्दाश्त नहीं हो रहा है। मैं कांग्रेस और यहां अघाड़ी वाले लोगों से कहना चाहता हूं, पाकिस्तान के एजेंडे को देश में बढ़ावा देने की कोशिश मत करो। कश्मीर को लेकर अलगाववादियों की भाषा मत बोलो। याद रखो, तुम्हारे ये मंसूबे कामयाब नहीं होंगे। और जब तक मोदी पर जनता जनार्दन का आशीर्वाद है, कांग्रेस वाले तुम कश्मीर में कुछ नहीं कर पाओगे। कश्मीर में अब केवल और केवल बाबा साहब आंबेडकर का संविधान ही चलेगा। ये मोदी का फैसला है। दुनिया की कोई ताकत अब कश्मीर में आर्टिकल 370 की वापसी नहीं करा सकती।
अभी कश्मीर की असेंबली में मीटिंग हुई, नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस के साथ कांग्रेस पार्टी ने भी एक रेजोल्यूशन किया कि धारा 370 वापस लाइए। ये कश्मीर जो है भारत का अभिन्न अंग नहीं है। मैं आज संभाजी महाराज की भूमि पर कहकर जाता हूं, मेरी बात मानिएगा शरद पवार साहब, आपकी 4 पुश्ते भी आएगी, धारा 370 हम वापिस नहीं आने देंगे।
हम चाहते थे असेंबली से ऐसी आवाज आए जो मरकज को कल मजबूर करे हमसे बात करने के लिए, जो कल को मरकज नजरअंदाज ना कर सके। और वो आवाज आपकी कल असेंबली ने बुलंद करके वो रेजोल्यूशन पास करके दुनिया को बताया कि हम क्या चाहते हैं और क्या हासिल करके रहेंगे।
पार्लियामेंट का अपमान किया गया है, ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया का अपमान कांग्रेस और नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस ने जम्मू कश्मीर की विधानसभा में किया है। जब तक नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस और कांग्रेस की सरकार माफी नहीं मांगेगी तब तक भारतीय जनता पार्टी विधानसभा को नहीं चलने देगी। किसी सूरत में भी हम कांग्रेस और नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस के इस राष्ट्रद्रोही एजेंडे को लागू नहीं होने देंगे।
कल जिस प्रकार से मार्शल्स ने स्पीकर की डायरेक्शन पे हमारे ऑनरेबल एमएलएज के साथ मैन हैंडलिंग की, उस पर हम डिबेट चाह रहे थे। उन्होंने आज दोबारा मार्शल्स का यूज करके सबको बाहर किया। अब हम यहाँ पे धरने पे बैठे हैं, हम पैरेलल असेंबली यहाँ पे चलाएंगे। आप हमें इसको कवर कीजिए। ये एक पैरेलल असेंबली है यहाँ पे बाहर, जो इस स्पीकर के विरोध।
He joins us with the very latest right now. Mir, with what I was mentioning, one thought everything had gone down tamely with Omar Abdullah taking oath as the new chief minister. The fireworks have only just started where the Kashmir Assembly is concerned, and understandably, now one understands on why Congress didn't want to join the government but only giving outside support.
Yes, Preeti. In fact, we discussed at that time what really led to the Congress not joining the government and supporting it from outside. This is exactly why they did it, because this is a very controversial issue and it's not dead and buried in any sense of the word. This is a hot political issue, and its resonance it's being felt across the country, especially when you have two big elections coming up, and the BJP top leaders using this opportunity to corner the Congress, because Congress is an alliance partner, and on this it had been saying that the final verdict of the Supreme Court is acceptable to it. But how come this resolution has come from its coalition partner, and where does the Congress stand on it? So this exactly is the issue on which the BJP is now trying to corner the Congress and use it for their political advantage, vote advantage, as far as Maharashtra and Jharkhand is concerned. Government Kashmir Assembly turned into, in fact, a wrestling ring since the last 3 days. Free for all, abuses, unparliamentary, everything that these MLAs did in the last some days, be it BJP, National Conference, PDP, everyone really came into it, and everyone is seeing this as an issue to extract political mileage. So 370 is the issue, and it's not dying down anytime soon, considering the positioning these parties have taken on this in the last 3 days. Preeti?
All right, Mir, appreciate you joining us. We're going to come back to you for more updates. Let's quickly move on now to the battleground state of Kerala. Actually, not really a battleground state, but important by-polls taking place where Kerala is concerned. All right, a massive political showdown erupting on the high-profile Wayanad seat, primarily because, of course, Priyanka Gandhi on a Congress ticket from Wayanad, replacing her brother who gave up the seat for Rai Bareli. And in the midst of it, you have now the left government coming in, attacking the Congress full-on, stating that Priyanka Gandhi is running for elections with the support of the Jamaat-e-Islami. One would have thought this would have come from the Bharatiya Janata Party, but not quite. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan leveled these charges against Priyanka Gandhi. Attacking the Congress, Vijayan stated that by-polls have exposed the Congress party's secular mask completely. Continuing his attack, Vijayan said that the country's democracy isn't important for Jamaat. Vijayan's comments comes days after Jamaat-e-Islami extended its support to Priyanka Gandhi.
How else can somebody like Priyanka Gandhi, who has not done any work in her life, who does not know Malayalam and who's an outsider completely from Wayanad, she does not even know what the problems of the people of Wayanad are. What confidence does she have to come to Wayanad and seek an election after 5 years? Her brother, who represented Wayanad, did nothing for Wayanad. We have to work hard to earn the trust of people, and then you have Priyanka Gandhi parachuting from nowhere, having done nothing, with no accomplishments, doesn't even know the language or the problems of the people of Wayanad. It is only because she knows that she is going to get the support, blind support of this one community.
In Kerala, especially in Wayanad, Congress is playing a different kind of politics. You know, appeasing outfits like Jamaat-e-Islami on one side and RSS-like outfits on the other side. In fact, you know, Priyanka's entry to Wayanad by contesting this by-election is not at all, relevant in the given Indian political situation. For example, it is an attempt to make the third one in the family to a member of parliament. Already the mother is in parliament and the brother is in parliament, and this is the attempt to make the other one, the last one in the family, to a member of parliament. So, actually, do we require this? Will it strengthen Congress party and the Indian politics? This is the pertinent question, $1 million question. Then to this question, Congress party is not answering.
അവരിവിടെ കൊണ്ടുപോയി നിർത്തേണ്ട യാതൊരു കാര്യവും കോൺഗ്രസിന് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. അവരെ നിർത്തേണ്ടത് ഇന്ത്യ ബെൽറ്റിൽ ഫാസിസ്റ്റ് ശക്തികൾക്ക് അതിനെ പോരടിക്കേണ്ട സ്ഥലത്തേക്കാണ് മത്സരിക്കേണ്ടത്. അവരെ കൊണ്ടുവന്ന് നിർത്തിയുടെ സെക്യുലർ ലെഫ്റ്റ് ശക്തികൾ ശക്തമായ സ്ഥലത്ത് മത്സരിപ്പിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല. അത് അവരോട് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന കൊടും തെറ്റാണ് അവർ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്. അവർക്കും മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുണ്ട്. കാരണം എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ അത്ര എളുപ്പത്തിൽ അങ്ങനെ ജയിച്ചു പോകാൻ പറ്റിയത് ജനങ്ങൾ അങ്ങനെയല്ല, ജനങ്ങൾ മാറ്റത്തിന് തയ്യാറായിട്ടുണ്ട്.
All right, from Kerala, let's move on to the state of Himachal Pradesh and a fascinating story of the curious case of the missing samosas which were ordered for none else but the Chief Minister, Sukhwinder Sukhu. Well, the latest that is coming in is that a CID probe has now been ordered to trace on who ate the Himachal Chief Minister's samosa. Kid you not. You know, one would have thought the story is just hearsay or a joke, but not really. This actually happened. CID a probe was ordered after 3 boxes of samosas which were ordered for Himachal CM from a 5-star hotel were mistakenly served to his staff on the 21st October. All this happened due to the lack of coordination between sub-inspector and an ASI who were tasked to get these refreshments. And what is even more shocking, the CID, while ordering a probe, called the missing samosas case as an anti-government act. BJP slammed Sukhu Sarkar for misplaced priorities. On the other hand, you've had a Sukhwinder Sukhu who says that he doesn't even eat samosas.
बचकाना बात है और मेरे को तो ये बात पता भी नहीं है और मुख्यमंत्री जी को ये पता होना चाहिए. वो डीजीपी ने क्लैरिफिकेशन दे दी है और अच्छी बात है कि इतनी बड़ी न्यूज़ बना रहे हैं आप उसको. तो मुझे लगता है कि आप लोग उसकी सत्यता में जाइए. इस बारे में अब कौन क्या कर रहा है उसके बारे में इतनी बातों में गहराई से कोई जाता नहीं है.
इसीलिए आपके स्पष्टीकरण की भी जरूरत थी. और ये भी कहा जा रहा है लगातार कि सीआईडी ने पड़ताल की उस पूरे मसले की और कहा गया कि ये एंटी गवर्नमेंट है कि जो सीएम साहब के लिए समोसे आने थे वो सिक्योरिटी ने खा लिए. तो थोड़ा सा हास्यास्पद भी हो जाता है कि इतने जो मसले हैं.
मैं तो समोसे खाता.
समोसे की क्या बात, आप खाते ही नहीं है समोसा?
हाँ, मैं समोसा खाता नहीं क्योंकि मेरी थोड़ी हेल्थ इश्यूज है, इसलिए मैं तो खाता नहीं. लेकिन आप पूछ रहे हैं तो मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि पिछले जब से हमारी सरकार को गिराने की कोशिश की गई थी ऑपरेशन लोटस के बाद से, उसके बाद से हमारी जो 40 सीटें आई है, दिल्ली में हमारी बहुत चर्चा होती है, हिमाचल प्रदेश में कम चर्चा होती है. तो मुझे ये समझ नहीं आ रहा है क्यों इस प्रकार की बात है. हमें तो अपने प्रदेश में हिमाचल ही एक पूरे देश का एक ऐसा राज्य जिसने 1 महीने में 2 सैलरीज दी है और 4% डीए दिया है. तो मेरा ये मानना है कि हम तो वैसे राजनीति परमाणु से ऊपर की करते हैं चंडीगढ़ के, लेकिन ये दिल्ली में मैं जब भी आता हूँ ना कोई बात आप
समोसे का किस्सा क्या है फिर?
ये आपको पता होगा.
इंटरनल मैटर सीआईडी का हम उसको देखेंगे, हम भविष्य में इसको देखेंगे क्योंकि ये मेरा महकमा है, मुझे इसको हैंडल करना है. चैलेंज आया है तो इसको पता करेंगे. बट ये इसको गलत है कि इसको बात को एस्केलेट किया जाए और पॉलिटिसाइज किया जाए. कोई इंक्वायरी नहीं ऑर्डर हुई है, कोई नोटिस नहीं जारी किया, कोई एक्सप्लेनेशन कॉल नहीं किया, किसी के खिलाफ कार्रवाई करने की कोई भी हमारी मंशा भी नहीं है.
ये बिल्कुल गलत प्रचार हो रहा है. कोई इस तरह की सीआईडी जांच का कोई विषय नहीं है. ये फंक्शन था पुलिस विभाग का और सीआईडी विंग का, जिसमें माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी चीफ गेस्ट के तौर पे उस फंक्शन में गए थे. वहाँ उन्होंने, आप सभी जानते हैं, प्रदेशवासी भी जानते हैं कि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी बाहर इस तरह की चीज़ें नहीं खाते अपने हेल्थ इश्यूज़ को लेके. अब ये रिफ्रेशमेंट के मामले को इस तरह से तुल देना और गलत तरीके से इसके पीछे ये प्रचार करना कि कोई सीआईडी इंक्वायरी इसमें इनिशिएट की गई है, ये बिल्कुल गलत है. ये केवल डिपार्टमेंट का अपना अंदरूनी मामला है.
इस घटना से हिमाचल प्रदेश के अधिकारियों कर्मचारियों में तालमेल की कमी और लापरवाही तो उजागर होती ही है, बल्कि अनेक प्रश्न भी खड़े होते हैं. हिमाचल प्रदेश का सीआईडी विभाग हिमाचल प्रदेश के अंदर असामाजिक और आपराधिक तत्वों की गतिविधियों को रोकने के लिए कदम उठाने में नाकाम है, परंतु मुख्यमंत्री तक समूचे नहीं पहुंचे, इस घटना की जांच करने के लिए सक्षम है। ये हालात आज हिमाचल सरकार के हैं। ऐसा व्यवस्था परिवर्तन इस हिमाचल सरकार के समय हुआ है, जिसके कारण यह सरकार आए दिन जनता के बीच हास्य का पात्र बन गई है।
Politics viewers, it is truly the theatre of the absurd. But let's quickly move on right now. And the latest that is coming in terms of pollution, which is a serious crisis facing the national capital, not just where the AQI index is concerned or the air quality, but also the deteriorating quality of the waters of the river Yamuna, especially during the time of Chhath. India today took samples from the river Yamuna from various points, and this is what we found.
A lifeline for thousands in Delhi. The Yamuna River has increasingly become a source of concern, especially during the auspicious Chhath Puja week. Even the Delhi High Court on Wednesday said it cannot allow puja rituals along the banks as the river was highly polluted and that the devotees will fall sick. As the faithful prepare to take the holy dip, concerns over alarming pollution levels in the river water are rising. India today decided to conduct a safety check on the quality of Yamuna water with the help of the Sri Ram Institute.
We're here at Wazirabad right now. This is our first point from where we will be picking up the sample of Yamuna that will then be sent for test. So he'll now be actually putting this depth sampler in the Yamuna to collect the water sample that will now be sent in for testing to the Sri Ram Institute.
Each parameter tells us about the state of Yamuna's health. For example, the pH levels measure how acidic or alkaline the water is, with an ideal pH range for safe water being between 6.5 and 8.5. Color and odor are very obvious indicators of contamination. Clear, odorless water is typically safer. We're now at the ITO barrage in the heart of Delhi, where the water quality often changes due to untreated sewage flowing in. We're measuring the water's electrical conductivity that helps gauge the presence of dissolved salts. The lab experts also check for turbidity or the cloudiness of water. The samples are sealed and stored in an ice box to maintain integrity.
We've already collected water from the Yamuna from the point at Wazirabad ITO, and this is our end point. Remember, the toxic froth visuals had appeared from this very place, and hence it will be significant to see that what are the parameters that will be coming in the end result from the water.
The test for dissolved oxygen, which is done on site, indicates the amount of oxygen present in the river water, a vital factor for supporting life of any form in the river. The 3 samples will be analysed under 16 different parameters to check whether the Yamuna water meets basic standards for public use. Key markers include pH level, total alkalinity, total hardness and iron levels. Additionally, a high presence of coliform bacteria or E. coli would be a clear red flag. A day later, we got the test reports. And there's bad news for all 3 locations as the water samples have failed on all the standard parameters. Broadly, the Yamuna water is totally unfit for drinking or bathing at all 3 places. Dissolved oxygen, which is a marker of healthy water, is critical at all 3 locations. DO should be equal to or more than 5, and it's less than 5 at all 3 locations. The WHO says for river water, the total bacterial count should be less than 100 CFU. The total bacterial count is extremely high in Yamuna, which indicates that the water is polluted. Ammoniacal nitrogen. If this is above 1, it causes acidity and is harmful for river fauna. Phosphate. High phosphate concentration causes frothing, an indicator of polluted water. E. coli and streptococci. The presence of these bacteria are an indicator of untreated sewage in the river. High bacterial count is harmful and can cause gastrointestinal diseases.
Actually, if you see, as far as the rituals are concerned for this Chhath Puja or others, so frankly speaking, we can say that this water is not fit for the drinking or for bathing purpose. But because the rituals are there, they are taking dips and all, and it definitely will affect their health also.
Can have lot of side effect. It can be short-term side effect. Like I've jumped into Yamuna, I've gone from Chhath Puja, I've contaminated myself. It can lead to lot of irritation in the eyes. It can lead to lot of contact dermatitis, lot of rashes, lots of allergies of the skin, and sometimes it can lead to fungal infection.
The lifeline of Delhi now slowly dying and becoming a threat to its citizens. With video journalist Nasir, Shreya Chatterjee and Sushant Mehra for India Today.
All right, viewers, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of news. It's goodbye. We're right in front of the Samvidhan Chowk or the Constitution Chowk in Nagpur. We leave it at that, but we do leave you with the goodbye speech by retiring Chief Justice of India, Chief Justice Chandrachud, where he reflected on his journey so far.
When you become a judge, the first thing that you come face to face with are your own fears, because as lawyers, we can decide what cases to accept and what cases not to accept. Of course, occasionally judges can recuse, but you can't recuse every evening. As a lawyer can say that, well, I'm busy in a part heard before another bench. You have to take up everything which is dished out into your daily work under the roster prepared by the Chief Justice. And I was confronted with my own fears because I was predominantly a public lawyer, a public law lawyer. And then suddenly I was catapulted into a situation where my first sitting after 11 years as a judge on the division bench was to head the tax bench. I'd done a little bit of tax work when I was Additional Solicitor General of India between 1998 and 2000. But there I was trying to confront my own fears. How am I going to handle a tax bench, learning how to head a division bench for the first time? Or to head the commercial court, to deal, we didn't have commercial courts, but these were what we call the motions court. I had no clue about how to deal with commercial work. But that's when you learn to be humble, because you learn the limits of your own knowledge as a judge and how vast knowledge is, and you realize the importance of the bar in educating you.